And it looks like we're live. Welcome back. This is me reading my novel. This is going to be episode 2. In episode 1, if I could summarize, basically people were realizing that they're in deep trouble and they're observing their environment, the city in particular, but also news of the world, and it's not looking good, and they're worried. And they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. There's reluctance to recognize the nature of the situation, but the world is rapidly falling down around their heads. So that was days 0 through 12, and now we're on day 13. Don't know how far I'm going to get today, but we'll see. So I won't be looking at the camera because I'm going to be reading. Same format as before. I think maybe the audio may be a little different. If you have to make adjustments, my bad. So, day 13. Little progress. Another day of demolition and barricading. Someone pointed out that this would not offer much protection against deliberate arson, since the intent of the raids seems to be theft. Most didn't seem too worried. And besides, all this was temporary, right? A few weeks, and we put everything back the way it was before. But I was worried anyway. The criminals are providing proof that the city is done. There is nothing left of familiar civil order at that level, and unless the U.S. military were to suddenly show up, there won't be any for a while. That's a game changer. The criminals don't have to limit themselves to theft. They can simply take over and run the place however they want. They could become the new order of things. If that happens, we find ourselves in a whole new world of troubles. I can't think of how to stop that happening, except that something even bigger and badder would need to show up to put these people down, and I couldn't imagine what that might be. When I was unable to shake the sense of vulnerability, I suggested we use our vehicles parked at the intersections to block the streets that ran through the neighborhood. This was immediately vetoed. Fine with me. I have long believed that the most effective way to learn anything important is to learn it the hard way. I spent most of the day working with Jose on his new shelter. He's doing much of the actual work using my tools and materials. After a trying day, we had a really nice neighborhood potluck dinner. Just after dark, it rained. A late entry. It's after midnight, and there is a house fire nearby. I climbed onto the roof to verify this, and from there I could see possibly 2 more further out. This might be more vandalism, or it might be accidental fires. As before, there is no fire department response that I can detect. No sirens, not even far away. It feels strange. Otherworldly. The fires will just burn themselves out, supposing they don't spread house to house. The winds are light and variable, and it rained earlier, so that helps keep things contained. What a nightmare. At least we still have running water to fight any fires that spread this way. Before I climbed back down, I watched a pack of 5 large dogs trot past in the near dark. They looked like they were hunting. Note for Brigid. Crude oil trading resumed in the afternoon on this day, but only traded for less than an hour. By the end of the session, oil was selling solidly for over $900 per barrel, but with little demand. Demand destruction is the dark side of collapse. We were off the edge of the map. Footnote. About here, I started taking daily notes on my laptop computer. It was clear to me that the world as we had known it was finished, and the shock of that hit me so hard that I started a journal, mostly for my mental health, if I had to be honest. From here on, these are my daily writings, mostly at the end of the day, sometimes late at night. Thinking back now, years on, I am a little shaken to the core. We might have all died during this time. It was certainly on my mind. Clearly, we did not, though many others did. Day 14. Hello from the past. Today I'm starting a journal. I don't know what I'm going to write about. Probably just notes on what happens. I will go back and recreate events up to now when I get a chance. I think we are on day 14 of the collapse of industrialized modernity. I'll stick to that dating until I change my mind. On this day, Jose Mora and I finished his temporary housing solution. While primitive, it looks great. His wife and daughter are already decorating the walls with hangings and pictures. Bless them. Women are remarkable. The sleeping situation isn't perfect, but there will be time to fix that. There was a raid last night. They hit one of the rental properties we hadn't figured out what to do with. The family was taken entirely away. A young couple and their 2 small children. Just gone, without a trace, without a warning. Our women circled together and cried for the loss and out of fear. Any of us could be next. Up to now, we've tried to keep it together. In the back of our minds, each had hoped for some sliver of normalcy to return, that the police would protect us, that the mayor would call in the National Guard and save our neighborhood from destruction. We no longer believe these things are possible. On this day, everything has changed. Any sense of normalcy has flown. Gone for a generation. Maybe for a century. The raiders tried to set fire to the house, but it didn't catch, leaving only heavy smoke damage. I'm attempting to see the benefit in that, but it's hard. The landlord isn't around, and nobody wants to violate his property rights. So, of course, we hesitate. Even after all that's happened, we hope to be saved from this slow slide into the abyss by pretending nothing has changed. What these people don't seem to understand is that it's already over. It's gone, and it's never coming back. I know that now. It should be obvious to any thinking person. From here, we either go a kind of medieval, or we give up. Future generations can sort out the mess we've made, but for them to do that, there needs to be a future for them to occupy. Getting through this crisis, whatever it takes, is all we can focus on. One foot in front of the other, into the unknown. Forward, but not into anything we can predict. The past is no longer a valid point of reference. Either we find a new way to exist based on the realities of this shattered modern world, or we perish. I mention a return to a kind of medieval life, but only in the sense that we won't have much left of the 800 years of technological development we've created since about the year 1200. Here I want to point out that the modernity we once knew was for 2,000 years path-dependent. That means we got here along a specific path, one we cannot go down again. Our journey was composed of periods of exploration, discovery, colonization, resource exploitation, slavery, mechanized global warfare, and the unrivaled impacts of free energy from easily available fossil fuels. That last one came in the form of easy access to coal, oil, and natural gas. Excuse me. The idea that we can have modernity again, at least as we have recently known it, will certainly prove impossible. We cannot retrace even the most recent 300 years long path that built the technology world in the first place. Whatever human world we can have, and how we get there from here, the path we must now forge through the looming existential crisis, is also impossible to predict. Better would have been to try and save as much of the modern world as we could, in a sort of controlled demolition. The worst case can be called the uncontrolled demolition, in which case we get whatever happenstance affords us. The chance to accept a controlled demolition swept past us without anyone even noticing, and now we are riding an accelerating train into the canyon of unintended consequences. And here I am also reminded the world itself has changed. Global heating and resultant climate change are now bad and getting worse. Probably these played an outside role in setting off the big slide that we are clearly in the early days of. The collapse of oil-fueled economic growth will put a crimp in continued carbon dioxide emissions, but that cannot be proven in advance, and by now might not even matter. There is no going back. We can only go forward. But forward to what? I could pretend not to know the answer to that, but doing so would be a lie. I am fully aware of what awaits. I just don't know when it is going to hit. With luck and hard work, we might be ready for it. After walking through the burned house the raiders left us, I suggested we salvage the interior for materials. All the appliances are gone, of course. The water heater is still there, and the sinks. We could rip out the wiring and plumbing, doors and windows, and then bring down the shell for the lumber. We can use the wood from the salvage to build stronger exterior walls for the rest of the homes still occupied, and build more housing. This is what an uncontrolled demolition looks like. You get whatever is left by chance. There was a troubled discussion about how we can't defend so large a perimeter and something needs to give. Like what? We have hit our limits, but that doesn't matter. There is no fallback position. Coincidentally, a police cruiser came by later. As we were tearing into the scorched house, the officer was there to dispense some wisdom, I guess. A circle of people fired questions at him for 10 minutes. I thought he handled that really well. It wasn't all friendly either. There was a lot of bitterness just beneath the surface. The officer told us we should block off our street somehow, maybe form a barricade using cars and debris to better deter criminal activity. Many other neighborhoods were already doing the same. Some were posting all-night guards at the barricades, and it was working. He told us the criminals were probing for and then hitting weak spots, while avoiding any signs of organized defense as not being worth the trouble. Imagine that. Before he left, I had a chance to talk to him in private. I asked if the city were organizing a relief effort, food, clothing, medicine, anything. He said he had heard there was something in planning at the county level, and that if anything came of it, there would be a notification sent around. He also volunteered that the city government had largely folded up. Wow. I bid him good luck and try not to die. He smiled, but we both knew it wasn't a joke. We made a connection with another group still holed up outside the neighborhood. They came around asking how we were doing and got a tour. We learned some of their practices and they learned some of ours, with a promise that our groups will pull together. I recommended some teenagers to escort them back. To my thinking, mostly to find out where they were situated and to do some friendly and reciprocal espionage. It's only fair if we are going to work together. In fact, we should exchange informal diplomats once in a while, the same way foreign countries exchange students. It provides trust and communication. A late entry. Tonight I sat up listening to the police scanner. Nothing good going on there. The news that the city has already folded is starting to hit me. How did that happen so quickly? Day 15. We are all adults now. At sunup, a group of the teenagers, 3 boys and 2 girls, went out on a scouting mission to get a sense of what was going on and to determine if there were additional communities forming nearby. I think mostly they were bored and anxious and just needed something to do. Some adults who heard about the plan asked them not to go. They said they would be careful and went anyway. Their venturing forth set the adults on their nerves, while we were all busy with hardening the perimeter for another grueling day. It was a near constant vigil, waiting for our young people to return. To much relief, they were back in a few hours. There was a hasty gathering to find out what they had discovered. From their account, it is bedlam out there. They had gone a few miles only, using only all the stealth they could, and only down one of the main streets and a few residential side streets, but it had been enough. We listened with attention to their account, and the information collected is valuable. Most interesting is there are 2 other communities a walking distance walling themselves in, much the same way we are. That's good to know. They've offered to do more of the same tomorrow. In recognition of that new role, I offered to give them my police scanner. I could see the misgiving on the faces of their elders, but nobody raised a vote against it. It was a difficult moment, but as a community, we endured it. Just like that, with no fanfare or ritual, we are all adults now. Some maybe sooner than expected, but the times have changed, cutting childhood short. In their serious young faces, I see the future. Future husbands and wives, future families, leaders, builders, farmers, planners. What we do today, we do for them. What they do themselves is claiming their future. Nobody says much, but I know everyone is thinking the same thing. We must succeed now. With what little time and materials we have and can gather. Do it, if only so these young people might shape the future. Perhaps as an antidote to the grimness of our situation, some women have decided to start their gardening early. The November weather has been exceptionally mild, and if we expect to have anything fresh to eat this summer, then getting an early start is critical. They performed an assessment of seed stocks, being relatively light on variety, and then were thrilled with the selection my wife and I had saved from our gardens past, plus the seeds I had secured from the gardening center. This treasure trove lifted the mood at once. Gardening also became a project for some men, since there is a lot of ornamental bushes and sod to pull up, and the soil needs turning. Talk of starting the gardens became the moral and emotional bookend to the loss of that couple and the uncertain times to come. The noose is closing around us. We are living through the early acts of the end of the modern world. Note for Brigid. Crude oil traded for another hour today, with the price reaching $1,120 per barrel. From what I could find, this was the last published information on market movement in crude oil. To my mind, Day 15 marked the official end of the modern global economic system. It had taken just 2 weeks to unwind 300 years of market economics. Day 16. Stirrings of something new. Last night it rained. As I write this, the sky is still heavy with the promise of more rain, and clouds are moving swiftly at high altitude. A storm is coming in. Correct an error. But I can't say what kind. Our teenage house sitters, I now call them scouts, were out before dawn. They were out half a day before they returned. We have begun to organize ourselves. Besides the scouting mission, we now have 4 large-scale projects going at once. A group of men and women have taken on the task of starting our gardens, and they are now wrapping their heads around this complex task. Some of our backyards are already well suited for food production. Others will need extensive modification, including demolition. There was always some pushback concerning the latter, but it's surprising and encouraging how quickly people get behind the garden project. There is another team, mostly men, devoted to the heavy work of clearing our lots of all the ornamental trash plants and leveling the ground. They are also building some really sturdy-looking elevated walks using fence boards so it's easier to get around in the shared gardening area. My old pickup happens to be a dump truck. I did the dump conversion myself a few years back while digging a basement. We can use it to haul heavy waste materials down to the intersection and dump it there. This won't hold back anyone who's serious about getting through, but it's a start. A third team is currently tearing down the destroyed homes for any useful materials. I'm working with this bunch. We store salvage in garages to keep the rain off, and any abandoned cars are pushed out onto the street. That's not going to last, of course, as thieves will just jack them or set fire to them out of spite. There was some talk about using cars to block the street, as recommended by that patrol officer, but nobody wanted to go first. We're still clinging to the past. That's okay for now, one step at a time. The fourth team is focusing on hardening off the perimeter. This isn't complicated work, but requires a good deal of materials and some engineering and rough carpentry. We're going to leave one gate in a gap between two homes, wide enough to drive my truck through. Everything else will be solidly blocked and heavy fortifications. There was another potluck meal. It was a sober event, everyone being tired and anxious, except for the small children, who just wanted to play themselves to exhaustion. The rest of us were deep in our private thoughts. Over food, I spoke with some of the other older gentlemen. They were sharing thoughts on using shortwave radios to get some news about the world. I hadn't thought of that. It was a good idea. I told them I had an emergency radio with a shortwave band. While I didn't have time to listen to it myself, I offered to loan it to them. They had cobbled together a listening team and a way to share news every few days. This will be a big help in keeping us up to date on global events, though I expect nothing but disasters. Too bad we don't have a ham radio transceiver. Late entry. It's long after sunset, and there was something like a gun battle nearby. I couldn't tell where. Up and down the street, we all came out to listen. It was the most unnerved I've seen these people. All of us standing silent, holding each other and watching the sky anxiously, looking to the stars as if an invasion force were surely parachuting in on us. I could even imagine that the Chinese had made landfall with an amphibious division, so intense was the battle. It lasted for part of an hour. Then suddenly, it was over. A bunch of us got together and with little discussion decided to use our cars to block the intersections. Using a nail as a punch, we punctured the tanks and drain out the gasoline for later use. My pickup is set aside from this treatment as it's a working truck. If there is a war going on, we're in no shape to fight. Day 17. Too many loose ends. Today dawned cloudy and blustery. It looks like a big storm is inbound. We had some bad ones last summer. Major flooding, downed power lines. People thought the first one was fun, but the second one got everybody scared. Some parts of town went without electricity for a week. Both times reminded me of monsoon storms in Bangkok. A thing you need to see to believe. This one seems late in the year, but given how screwed up the climate has become, that is no surprise. If it's a tropical storm, we're in for trouble. Any power lines that fall now are going to stay failed for a long time. The scouts made another surveillance run to find out what can be known regarding the gunfight. After half a day of snooping around, there was no sign of where the battle had taken place. The police scanner didn't have any information either. They'll have another look later. They did locate another, much smaller group trying to form a community nearby to the north. Maybe we should offer to fold them into our own. Gardening and demolition proceed by day, followed by a modest meal from our stores and then a community meeting. Nearly all the homes on our block are now part of the work, and a few across the street. There are only 2 serious holdouts. They think we're crazy communists or something. The food supply isn't looking too good. There was a lot of talk about that. Some mothers have become concerned about their children not having any schooling, and a small group came together after dinner and discussed setting up a multi-age school. There was no shortage of potential teachers. They didn't come to an agreement, but it seems they will. During the meal, the wind blew hard out of the south, and we had to take shelter in my garage to finish eating. A major storm is inbound. We'll find out in a day or 2 if we get hit or not. The timing could not be worse. We cannot afford this right now. Day 18. Food and panic. Glory be, there's going to be food. This afternoon, word spread that the county was offering a bulk food distribution at specified locations. Everyone got excited. We need the food. But I didn't like the sound of it at all. I pointed out that the first attempt at a food distribution in this chaotic environment would probably turn into a complete disaster. I imagined it might become violent and that we should stand back and see what happens. If it looks like the government knows what they are doing and can manage crowds, then we can relax. There were other voices, mostly amounting to how we are taxpayers and the government owes us. The community voted anyway not to send anyone, except perhaps to observe. If things didn't blow up completely, then we could attend the next distribution. 3 of the scouts went, taking backpacks. They managed to secure a sack of rice from the back of a van, but shortly after this, there were shots fired, and the event turned into a terrified stampede. Our team found a safe observation point away from the panic. From there, they saw how some armed individuals hijacked 2 of the 3 trucks used to distribute food. In the aftermath, there were significant injuries. Some possibly from the shots fired, but mostly from people being trampled in the panic. The stolen trucks ran over other hopefuls who got in their way. No doubt there were fatalities involved. When the way was clear, the scout team returned. The young people seemed to think it was an exciting adventure. Mostly, I think, they felt useful. We're all very proud of them, and they got some food, so that's good. Most importantly, they did not get themselves killed. That speaks to good judgment and better instincts. A good sign. The outcome and loss of life was very much what I had thought would happen. The county needs to get their shit wired up tight if they intend to do that again. But if they do, and they can show they know what they are doing, we'll be there. By afternoon, the weather is scary. I have a weather radio, and I scan the channels for any broadcasts, not expecting much. There was one channel offering a small craft warning, probably AI generated. Mentioned big waves, storm surge, high winds, and recommending communities to secure anything that could be blown away. I sent the word around, and runners did the rest. I don't know how ready we are for a big storm, but it's coming, so I guess we're about to find out. We need a better way to communicate. A mesh Wi-Fi network could handle simple message broadcasts to connected devices. I wonder what it would take to set one of those up. A miracle, probably. The Mora family heard from the missing son-in-law, but I got that news late at night, so didn't have an opportunity to learn the details. I hope he's okay. I'm a little worried that, given the overall collapse we're seeing, he might not be able to get home easily, or at all. I haven't shared my misgivings, nor would I. I really do hope he makes it, and soon. There was some bad news today. Several of the neighbors are reporting that their gas-powered stoves and cooktops no longer operate. A quick survey suggests that the gas supply to homes has been interrupted. This can't only be deliberate, something the utility company did. There have been house fires all over the city associated with thieves, certainly, but also accidents. Clearly, the city has also given up on fighting fires. So, I suppose, cutting off the gas supply seemed like the next logical step. Yeah, that's one way to fight fires, just keep them from starting. But it's going to pose a challenge for people heating and cooking with gas, which is nearly everyone. We're headed into winter, and probably a storm. This is nuts. Oh crap, I just thought of something. This storm will knock out electricity delivery as well. Day 19. The storm. A big storm has hit, exactly as warned. It's our third of the year. No doubt signs of a climactic shift taking place. The oceans are really hot this year. That means more and more powerful storms. This one has horizontal rain, like I've never seen in these parts. Rain is pounding its way around windows, under doors, threatening to tear the roofing off. Our roof is fairly new, but the entire house shakes anyway. The Mora family are doing fine on the patio. The tiny house Mr. Mora and I built is holding up great. We bolted the new walls to the slab and to the patio roof, and the structure is strong. So as long as the patio roof doesn't lift, they're in a good place. The electrical power to the neighborhood fails about an hour in. We're okay under my roof because of the solar and batteries, but I advise the Moras to conserve power until we can assess the situation tomorrow. They had no idea they were using off-grid solar. That's the entire point. It's completely invisible. Losing power right now is bad. Just yesterday, I wrote about wondering what would happen to people if the electric utility failed. A day later, here we are. No gas and no electricity, combined with the approach of winter conditions, it's going to make most homes uninhabitable real quick. Whoever at the utility shut off the gas supply is an idiot or a criminal. If accountability has gone the same direction as everything else, then nobody will be held legally responsible for this, nor anything else that happens, or what ought to happen but doesn't. But they did put an end to the fires. Yay us, I guess. Nothing else to report. Tomorrow will tell the tale. Unlikely to get much sleep. And on the subject of sleep, I'm a little tired. So that's day 13 through day 19. After this, there's a cleanup. There are some problems in the community. And there's an act of betrayal. So hope you enjoyed that. This is my book. It was 100 days. Soon to be on the shelves at Amazon. I finished one more round of edits and get a chance to put it up there. So if you like this kind of stuff, you may want to subscribe. I'll be doing the rest of this. I'm at day 19, but there's 100 days, so we're 1/5 of the way through, so you can imagine how much more there is to do. Also, in the description is the link to buy me a coffee. I appreciate any support. Keeps me thinking that this is worthwhile. So that's it for me. You all have a good night, and I'll talk to you again later.